Would you give your parents and your families a round of applause? Okay, now it's time you've all been waiting for. Today we are honored and welcome a true force in American jazz education and performance. Mr. Dave Dickey, a nationally respected bandleader, trombonist, and pianist from St. Louis. Dave leads the powerhouse Dave Dickey Big Band, recently featured in the upcoming PBS Sammy Nestico documentary. He has shared the stage with Arturo Sandoval, Tito Puente, Harry Connick Jr., and countless icons of our time. He is also the founder of the prestigious Dave Dickey Big Band Camp, shaping the next generation of jazz artists. Please join me in giving a huge Kansas City welcome and to the extraordinary leader of our KC Metro All-District Jazz Band, Mr. Dave Dickey.
Joel did an awesome job with those kids. Great director, great educator. I know we have so many good educators here in the greater Kansas City area, so awesome job with them. The kids, I mean, not only do we have two great killer drummers in this band, but the middle school drummers are great too. So Kansas City's got some serious drummers. How about that? Anybody recognize that melody? A little bit. Sometimes you hear vocalists like Sinatra singing Witchcraft. That's a great tune. But it was arranged by a wonderful big band writer, band leader, huge in the 80s, Tom Cubis with a K. He's got a lot of great Christmas arrangements. I love with my bands during Christmas time. But he always had the top guys, the studio guys in the 80s. He still has a band performing these days, like once every 3 or 4 months. And wonderful writer, Tom Cubis. That was his version of Witchcraft. How about that lead trumpet player and solo with Jeremiah from Raytown? And on tenor sax, you're going to hear this guy quite a bit this afternoon from Belton. Let's hear from Matthew on tenor sax. I love when students dress up nice and look even nicer than me. How about Matthew's jacket? So he's going to be the next Doc Severinsen, obviously. Parents, you know what I'm talking about, right? The jackets? Yeah. You know Doc Severinsen? So, back in the day, before the Jimmy Fallons, before all those, we had the great talk shows. David Letterman had a great band. The guy who plays in my big band camp, Frank Green, who's the lead with the Count Basie. I'll talk about my camp a little bit later. But he had a smaller band, but it was killing. But then the famous Johnny Carson band, right? You guys ever hear Johnny Carson? Had the Doc Severinsen Tonight Show band with Ed Chauncey on the drums. He was double bass on that. He was great. Snooky Young, you've been hearing that name a lot. Lead trumpet with Count Basie band. He also played lead trumpet with the Doc Severinsen band. So you guys should all know that name. In fact, you got your pencils, write it down. Yesterday and this morning I've been given so many names and albums and different styles, not just jazz, everything from Latin jazz, rock, salsa, funk music, classical music. You know, it's important that we study all styles of music, but obviously jazz first. So, number one, Count Basie, right? Can you agree with that, Count Basie? Definition is 20 music is the Count Basie going. So we can speak of the next song. Yeah, so, good job, Matthew, on that. So, next song. A wonderful, you mentioned a name earlier, Sammy Nestico. Educators, we all know who Sammy Nestico is. He passed away not too long ago, right before his 100th birthday. Almost made it to 100. Deanna Vicari over in Los Angeles, she has over 484 hours of film footage she has to edit for this documentary. It was supposed to be done like almost 2 years ago. But it's so much. So I hope she can get it done by next year. But it's going to be amazing. For kids to see, for adults to see, educators, how important Sammy Nestico was in the jazz world. And also with military bands and Sinatra and Hollywood stuff. He did so much for music, for writing. He was one of the nicest guys in the world. I got to meet him a few times before he passed away this last year, so it's one of my highlights. So this is one of his famous songs that some of you will know. It's a challenging chart for high school level. It's definitely an upper high school, college level type of chart called Basie Straight Ahead. So we're going to feature in this over there, Count Basie himself, Isaac from Staley High School. And again, we're going to hear a little bit more from Matthew from Belton on tenor sax. Here is Basie Straight Ahead, the great Sammy Nestico. Check, check, check. How about that drummer back there, Ben? Man, Lee Summit, right, Ben? Lee Summit High School. Excellent. We're lucky to have two killer drummers in this band. You know, both excellent high school drummers and middle school too. So it's, I hate to admit this as a trumpet player and trumpet player, the two most important chairs of the big band is lead, trumpet, and drums. And this band has both, so we're blessed to have a good band because we're led by a great lead trumpet player, Jeremiah, back there. Both are drummers doing an awesome job. Thank you guys. Very good. All right, this next one, I want to make sure I say this before I forget. Thank you, parents, for supporting music education, jazz, all arts, all sports, anything that your family's involved in. That means a lot to us. Educators, parents here that still support jazz music, all instrumental music and support, so thank you for that. All the directors in Greater St. Louis for having your kids here, pushing your kids to have lesson teachers, which is great, bringing them here to do stuff in this wonderful building with Clarence and all the other great educators here. Obviously, Mr. Ogle and Mr. Noble did an amazing job putting this together this weekend. Put your hands together for both those gentlemen. I know both Joel and myself appreciate both the gentlemen for bringing us here this weekend. It's been a fun 2 days. All right, this next one is a fun one. This is from a gentleman I used to play with back in Miami. He's now in Los Angeles, Arturo Sandoval, who recently got his Medal of Freedom, right? Or got, no, the Kennedy Honors Award, right? Which is great. So it's at his age, getting that, and his story. If you don't know his story about him defecting from Cuba, I was part of his movie. It was on HBO when I lived in Miami. This would have been around 2002, I think, or 2001. It's called For Love or Country. I was telling the kids about it. I have it on DVD, but maybe you can find it on Amazon Plus or something. But it's a great story about him and Paquito de Rivera and all these musicians to get away from Fidel Castro and all that defect from Cuba. It's a lot of story. I didn't know about this stuff growing up in Des Moines, Iowa, West Des Moines, Iowa. When I lived in Miami, I definitely learned a lot about, you know, the negative things about Fidel from a lot of Cuban Americans and Cubans that came from there. So it's a fascinating story what Arturo's did musically and all the awards he's won. And amazing, even better piano player, I think, than trumpet. He's amazing on piano, a great trumpet. So I'm blessed to be a part of that movie that he did, and then his big band stuff he did when I lived in Miami. This is one of those many charts he had. We call it Funky Cha-Cha. We're going to feature on this one, Macari on trumpet from Park Hill South. Matthew again from Belton on tenor sax. Alto, this is lead alto player. By the way, I don't know if you heard the last two songs, especially the last song, the sound of the lead alto. Kenny's doing an awesome job. It's super Kenny and alto sax. I'm always telling these kids, like I was telling Jeremiah, certain guys to listen to for lead players like Snooky Young, I was telling Kenny yesterday about the great Dick Oates, who just finished his last performance 40 plus years with the Vanguard Jazz Orchestra, which used to be the Thad Jones and Mel Lewis. He's starting to get early dementia, so he's finally retiring from NYU performing. One of the best all-time lead alto players, the great Dick Oates, another Iowa guy. That's why I like him too, but it's amazing. You know, Dan Higgins, we talked about Dan Higgins in Los Angeles, Eric Maranthal, all these greats. But so it's great to hear a good lead alto player in this band. So we're gonna hear Kenya's solo on this too. And back to the drums, Julius from Belton, but this is a Latin song, so we call him Julio in this next one, right? Julito on drums. So here it is. This is Arturo's chart called Funky Cha-Cha. just like we rehearsed it. Yeah. But it was awesome. That was fun. That was fun. Hey, let's hear it for the soloists again. Let me see. That's Bakari back to Park Hill South on trumpet. The role is Arturo Sanchez. The big tune factor. Matthew again at tenor sax with Belton. Kenny Costelli on alto sax. And Julius with Belton, as we call Julito on the drums. All right, so whenever I tell anybody about drums, who do you think I'm thinking about for big band drumming? Who's number one for big band drumming? Anybody? Buddy Rich, I heard it somewhere over here. The great Buddy Rich. So thank goodness both these drummers know already a lot about Buddy Rich. In fact, when I meet kids and they have no idea who Buddy Rich is, like when I used to teach these music appreciation classes in college, I put on, guess what I put on? The Muppets. Remember Animal? Animal versus Buddy Rich. And I only think one or two of them saw it, and then I'm like, check it out, like last night, check it out when you come to rehearsal today. It's hilarious. It's still even funny today. This is like when I was a little kid, I think when it came out around there. But it's amazing. And all rock drummers, a lot of drummers, they looked up. Buddy's not with us anymore, passed away I think in 1986 or 87. But one of the best drummers of all time for any style of music, the great Buddy Rich. I'm blessed to work with Dave Weckel in St. Louis. He moved back to St. Louis, and Dave listens to Buddy Rich all the time. When we have a big band back in St. Louis, he plays so much Buddy Rich, and it doesn't get better than Buddy Rich. So this next song is a Buddy Rich chart. Buddy Greco wrote this for the Buddy Rich band. It's perfect for this band. It's called The Rotten Kid. So I think there's a lot of solos on this, which makes me happy. It's just F blues, concert F blues. So I'm going to wait after the song. I'm going to mention all the solos. So this makes me very happy as an educator. I think we have, 12 soloists on this one? So here is The Rock Kid by Buddy Greco for Buddy Rich. So remember at the top, we get 3 solos. Andrew's the last one on trumpet. And then 4 parts of it. Ridge. How about those rocking kids back there, huh? Over there on piano from Staley, that's Isaac on piano, started off for us. Alto sax from Van Horn, that's Gannon over there in alto. And also at the top of the chart from Liberty North, that's Andrew on trumpet. We had 4 sections, right? So the next section, we had 2 soloists on tenor sax. From Blue Springs, that's Duncan on tenor sax. And on trombone from Liberty North, great name. Let's hear for Tyler on the trombone. One of my boys' name is Tyler, so I can't get that one wrong. Next section, we had 3 soloists. Our lead trombonist did an excellent job. For rockers, it's here for Alex on trombone. Back to the trumpet, we hear from again from Park Hill South, Macari on trumpet. And on Barry sax, she's doing an awesome job. We were talking yesterday and this morning about Tower Power. Anybody know that famous band, Tower Power? Right? My roommate from North Texas is Adolfo Costa for the past 20 years. We finished North Texas in '98. He got Maynard Ferguson for 2 years, 98, 2000. Then he joined Tower Power 2000. Been with him 25 years. But one of the few original members, right, the pride of San Francisco, the Oakland area, was the Tower Power band, right? Back to Oakland at What Is Hip. In fact, we were talking about Rocco, the bass player, playing the What Is Hip. So we were talking about, listening to Rocco, the way he plays that song. But back to Barry sax, I was telling her about some names like Ronnie Kubert, Gary Simoleon, Jerry Mulligan. But there's a guy, if you want to know like a big sound like she was getting, was awesome, was the guy they call Doc in the Tower Power band. So let's hear from what high school? Belton High School, it's Emmy on Barry sax. And then we have one more last solo section. Again, our lead alto player doing an awesome job soloing and playing lead alto. Kenny again from Staley on alto sax. Back in the trumpet section, sounds like he has a lot of family members here. From Park Hill South is Connor in the trumpet section. Next to him, also doing an awesome job, a couple chairs with him. Trumpet from Belton, let's hear for Aiden on trumpet. And again, one of our 2 excellent drummers, again doing an awesome job playing like Buddy Rich. Do you notice how he came into the band after his drum solo? I mean, you probably couldn't hear very well, but I told him like, hey, you're Buddy Rich, I should have to count it in. So he counted in, did an awesome job. From Lee Summit again, let's hear it for Ben on the drums. All right, we got one more song to play for you guys again. Middle school job did an awesome job today. Joel did a great job directing them. Parents, thank you for that. High school parents, thank you. Keep supporting these kids at all levels. And like I was telling these kids before, when you go to college, do not stop playing music. I don't care if you're a music major or if you're a minor or something else. A lot of colleges, even in the state of Missouri, Mizzou, even Illinois with Jim McNeil, they're always looking for more people for marching band, more people for the jazz program to fill in all these chairs and they offer scholarships. When I play around St. Louis a lot or when I travel, a lot of, people who are doctors not making more money than me come up to me like, man, I still wish I played piano or trumpet. Like you can, there's so many community bands, especially in a town like this or St. Louis, larger towns. So keep playing, church bands, school bands, community bands, everything. It's really important. So you guys keep playing, you guys sound awesome. One more time for this band, put your hands together. All right, this last one's another fun one. Song by the great Eddie Harris. He had a song called Cold Duck Time. Yeah, so one of my friends from North Texas, we were back there in the early mid-90s, Alan Baylock, who wrote this arrangement of Cold Duck Time. It's kind of a fun one. It's going to feature a couple people. I'll get to in just a second. Alan is back now in North Texas. He's directing the 1 o'clock lab band. So if you know about college big bands, that's like the top one, the 1 o'clock lab band. They rehearse at 1 o'clock and 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 9 o'clock, all of it at 9 o'clock lab band. But it's an amazing program, University of North Texas. So this is, Alan's back here now directing the 1 o'clock band, doing an awesome job. So this is one of his fun tunes called Cold Duck Time. I want to mention the soloist now, because after we're done, we're going to stand up. Parents will take some photos after we're done. please do. We're going to hear 4 soloists on this, or actually 5, but 4 solo sections. First, we're going to hear again for tenor sax Matthew, and then I'm excited to have this gentleman a guitar solo on this one. And I was so happy when we were playing the Count Basie stuff or the Tom Cuba stuff, he was playing the correct way. So we talked about Freddie Green. Anybody know the name Freddie Green? So if you know Count Basie, you know the gentleman for 40 plus years, more than that. He was the rhythm guitarist. Never had a soloist like Count Basie band. He was just, you know, ching, 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 ching. That's all he did. And the way they teach, like let's say Rick Hayden at SIUE, when he teaches, he's amazing at teaching that Freddie Green style. Turn the guitar all the way down and slowly turn up, and that's when you hear it. It's more of a percussive sound. It's not like I can hear C7 flat 9. It's more, that's the Basie swing feel. It was about this amazing, all the Basie drummers, he had so many good drummers. But Basie with this different light feel that he had, always good bass players, but this Freddie, more of a percussive sound. So he did an awesome job doing that for me, because at first when he came out, it was a little bit louder than I wanted for the older style, like Basie straight ahead. Did a perfect job, listened to me, corrected all that. It was perfect. So on this last one, I told him to add some effects and have a fun time. Let's hear for Drayton on guitar this next song. And then we're going to hear again from Tyler on trombone on this last song. He's going to have a fun solo on this. Yeah, Tyler. And then we're going to have a little trumpet battle on the end between, who is it, Connor and Andrew, right? Connor and Andrew on this. So here it is, Cold Duck Time, arranged by Alan Bailey.